There are truths that can be spoken, and there are truths that can only be lived. There are lessons that can be shown, and there are lessons that must be earned. Some wisdom is safe to share, and some is too dangerous to teach, not because it holds evil, but because it holds power, and power in unprepared hands can destroy more than it can build in this path of self-mastery. I have learned that the most profound teachings cannot be given freely. They must be discovered through experience, discipline, and silence. The world is filled with people who want shortcuts to strength, formulas for peace, instructions for power. But the truth is this: what is handed to you too easily will never stay. What you have not bled for, you will never respect. What you have not suffered through, you will never understand. Some teachings are too dangerous because they awaken forces that a restless mind cannot yet control. To give advanced understanding to an undisciplined heart is like placing fire in the hands of a child. Fire can cook food, or it can burn a village. Power can heal, or it can corrupt. And so, the wise remain silent until the student is ready. In the Shaolin way, we say, when the student is ready, the master appears. But what few understand is that the master does not appear to give secrets. He appears to test if you have earned them. The master's silence is not neglect. It is protection. It is respect for the process that transforms knowledge into wisdom. You see, there are lessons that, if spoken too soon, would only feed the ego. The ego loves information. It collects knowledge like trophies, but it fears transformation. Transformation requires humility, patience, and the willingness to break. The dangerous part of teaching is not the information itself. It is the illusion that knowing something is the same as becoming it. The lesson of patience cannot be taught in words. It must be lived through waiting. The lesson of courage cannot be taught in theory. It must be faced through fear. The lesson of detachment cannot be taught in speech. It must be experienced through loss. And the lesson of self-mastery cannot be taught in a single talk. It must be carved into your being by time, by pain, by silence, by discipline. Every true master understands this. That is why some lessons remain hidden behind simple words. A beginner hears a phrase and thinks he understands it. Years later, after failure, silence, and awakening, he hears the same words again and realizes he never truly understood them at all. This is what it means when we say something is too dangerous to teach. It is not a secret you keep from others. It is a power that must be awakened inside them. When the heart is unsteady, knowledge becomes dangerous. When the mind is clouded, power becomes poison. To teach strength without compassion is to create a tyrant. To teach confidence without humility is to feed arrogance. To teach freedom without discipline is to invite chaos. So the true teacher hides the deepest lessons inside simple practice, in bowing, in breathing, in repetition, in silence. There is a reason monks train for years in stillness before they are taught advanced techniques. It is not because the body is weak. It is because the mind is wild. A wild mind turns every tool into a weapon, every opportunity into destruction. Before you can handle knowledge, you must handle yourself. That is why silence is the first lesson, and humility is the second. Without these, no other lesson is safe. To the impatient student, silence feels like neglect. To the wise student, silence is instruction, because silence teaches what words cannot: awareness. In silence, you face yourself. You see your anger, your fear, your insecurity, your desire for recognition. You realize that the real enemy was never outside, it was inside. That realization is dangerous, because once you see it, you can no longer blame the world for your suffering. That is why this teaching, the teaching of self-responsibility, is too dangerous for those who still love comfort. It strips away excuses. It demands honesty. It requires that you face the parts of yourself you have avoided. And once you awaken to it, you can never go back to ignorance. That is the danger and the gift. In the monastery, we often sweep the same courtyard every morning. To an outsider, it looks meaningless. But to us, it is meditation in motion. Each sweep is a breath. Each motion is awareness. The broom teaches patience. The dust teaches impermanence. The repetition teaches presence. A student who cannot find meaning in simple acts will never find meaning in complex ones. If you cannot stay still while sweeping, how will you stay calm in chaos? This is why I say, some things are too dangerous to teach. Not because they are violent, but because they are too simple. People want grand mysteries. They want secret techniques. They do not want to hear, breathe, sit, watch. Yet those are the true keys. They are too dangerous because they remove all illusion. They expose that you are already the master, and that realization terrifies the ego. To tell someone, you are responsible for your own mind, is the most dangerous lesson of all, because now there is no one left to blame, no master to worship, no enemy to fight, no savior to wait for. You alone must face yourself. Most people would rather live in dependence than face that kind of freedom. Freedom requires responsibility. Responsibility requires awareness. Awareness requires honesty. And honesty burns. The fire of self-awareness is too bright for many. It burns illusions. It destroys comfort. It leaves you naked, without your stories, without your excuses, without your masks. But when everything false is burned away, what remains is real. Your essence, your truth, your unshakable spirit. That is why true masters teach through experience, not explanation. Because transformation happens through fire, not through comfort. There is another danger in teaching too soon. The danger of imitation. When someone learns an idea before they have lived it, they begin to perform it. They speak of peace without having tasted stillness. They teach humility while seeking followers. They preach detachment while clinging to praise. This is not wisdom, it is performance, and performance is fragile. It collapses at the first touch of truth. True teaching is not about transferring knowledge, it is about transmitting presence. The words of a teacher mean little, it is their being that teaches. Their calmness teaches peace. Their silence teaches strength. Their humility teaches confidence. Their discipline teaches freedom. That is why the deepest lessons are wordless. They are felt, not heard. When a master tells you nothing, he is teaching you everything, because he is inviting you to look within. The truth you discover there is yours forever. It cannot be stolen, copied, or forgotten. That is the only knowledge that is safe, the one earned through your own awareness. So, when you find yourself wanting to learn more, pause and ask, am I ready to receive? Because readiness is not about desire. It is about capacity. To receive wisdom, you must make space for it. The full cup cannot be filled. The proud mind cannot be taught. The restless heart cannot hear. That is why humility is the gate. Empty yourself first, of opinions, of expectations, of pride. Only then can wisdom enter. And when it enters, protect it. Do not rush to share everything you learn. Knowledge grows in silence. The seed does not shout while it sprouts. Keep it within you. Let it shape you before you share it. Otherwise it becomes noise. The world does not need more teachers of words. It needs more teachers of presence. Every person wants to hold the sword of truth, but few are willing to carry its weight. Truth is heavy. It cuts through illusions, including your own. It demands that you live with integrity, even when no one watches. It demands that you remain calm when the world provokes you. It demands that you act with kindness when others are cruel. This is why wisdom is too dangerous to give freely, because it binds you with responsibility. To know the path is easy. To walk it is hard. To walk it in silence, without recognition, without reward, without applause, that is the true test. That is what separates the seeker from the master. So remember, some lessons are withheld not to punish you, but to protect you. When your heart is ready, the silence will open, and the teaching will reveal itself in everything, in the wind, in your failures, in your breath, in your stillness. You will see that nothing was ever hidden. You simply had to become quiet enough to hear it. And when that happens, you will understand what too dangerous to teach truly means. It means that no one can give it to you, because it is already within you, waiting, watching, burning silently, until you are strong enough to carry its light. So be patient, be humble, be still, earn your wisdom through experience. Let silence teach you, let life shape you. And when you finally awaken to your own truth, speak it not with pride, but with presence, for that truth, lived, not taught, is the only power safe enough to share. There are teachings in this world that can be spoken aloud, and there are those that must remain silent, not because they are secrets, but because they are sacred. Some truths are not written in books, nor passed from teacher to student. They are awakened only through the crucible of experience. They cannot be taught because to teach them too early would destroy the lesson itself. You see, not everything that can be known should be known now. Timing is not just a matter of convenience, it is a matter of readiness. When the fruit is ripe, it falls naturally. When the student is ripe, the teaching appears naturally. But if you force the fruit before its time, you destroy it. If you force understanding before awareness has matured, you destroy the seed of wisdom that was meant to grow within. In the monastery, I once asked my teacher why he refused to answer certain questions. His reply was simple: because you are still asking them from your mind, not from your being. At that time, I did not understand, but now I do. Some knowledge given to an unprepared mind is like giving a sharp sword to trembling hands. It will not bring protection, it will bring harm. The mind loves to collect information. It loves to feel clever, to feel powerful. But wisdom is not about adding more, it is about removing what is false. It is not about gaining strength. It is about becoming light enough to carry truth without distortion. This is why I say, there are teachings too dangerous to teach. Because if you give the wrong person the right knowledge, you create imbalance. The ancient masters understood this well. They did not speak carelessly. They watched their students closely, not their movements but their hearts. They looked for humility, for steadiness, for silence. Because when a heart is still, knowledge flows like clear water. But when the heart is agitated, that same knowledge becomes a storm that floods everything. Every generation seeks shortcuts. They want enlightenment in a weekend, mastery in a month, peace without practice. But a shortcut to truth is an illusion. And illusions are the most dangerous teachings of all, because they give the appearance of progress while keeping the student asleep. It is too dangerous to teach power to those who have not learned restraint. It is too dangerous to teach freedom to those who have not learned responsibility. It is too dangerous to teach stillness to those who are running from themselves. And it is too dangerous to teach awakening to those who seek it only to be admired. There is a saying, the path reveals itself only to those who have walked it long enough to stop looking for it. This means that the very act of chasing knowledge blinds you from it. You cannot grasp the wind, yet the wind moves all things. You cannot chase understanding. You must become quiet enough for understanding to enter you. When you meet a true teacher, notice how little he speaks. His silence is not emptiness. It is fullness beyond words. He does not give you answers, because answers end the journey. Instead, he gives you questions that burn away your illusions. The dangerous teachings are not words that tell you what to think. They are experiences that force you to see who you are. In life, the most powerful lessons come disguised as loss, rejection, silence, and pain. When something you love is taken away, when you fail despite effort, when the world does not reward your virtue, these are the real masters. These moments cut away the false parts of you. They destroy pride, arrogance, and dependency. They awaken humility, endurance, and strength. This process cannot be taught. It must be lived. That is why it is too dangerous to teach. Because if you try to explain it before it happens, the mind will resist it. It will think it can control the fire, not realizing the fire was meant to melt the control itself. People ask me, Master, why do you not teach the highest secrets? And I say, because the highest secrets are not hidden from you. They are hidden by you. They are hidden by your distractions, your impatience, your ego, your endless desire to understand without surrendering. Once these clouds dissolve, what remains is clear. The sky of awareness that has always been there. The human mind wants certainty. It wants formulas and steps. But the path of awakening is not mechanical. It is organic. It unfolds naturally, like a lotus opening in the morning sun. You cannot force the petals open without killing the flower. You cannot teach awakening without killing its purity. That is why every real teacher will give you paradoxes. He will confuse you, he will frustrate you. He will make you wait. Because confusion is the space between knowing and not knowing. And that is where transformation happens. In confusion, the old patterns break, the rigid thinking softens, the ego loses control. This discomfort is sacred. It is the womb of wisdom. To explain it away would rob you of the birth. When I was young, I wanted to learn quickly. I wanted to meditate deeply, fight strongly, understand everything. My teacher saw my hunger and said, "If you cannot sweep the floor without pride, you are not ready to walk on water." I did not understand then, but years of repetition revealed the truth. The small things are not preparation, they are the path itself. The way you sweep, breathe, walk and speak reflects your inner state. If you cannot find peace in simplicity, no complex technique will ever give it to you. That is another reason why some teachings are too dangerous, because they distract the student from simplicity. They make the mind chase complexity, thinking that enlightenment lies in difficult practices. But the greatest danger is this: you begin to seek everywhere except within. True power does not come from learning new things. It comes from unlearning everything that blocks your natural wisdom. The more you learn, the heavier you become. The more you unlearn, the lighter you are, and only the light can rise. A true master knows that giving advanced knowledge to a heavy mind only adds more weight. So he removes, not adds. He takes away illusions, beliefs, habits, and attachments. Each removal brings you closer to your essence. That essence is dangerous, not because it harms others, but because it destroys your false identity. You are not afraid of the truth itself. You are afraid of what the truth will take from you. It will take your excuses, your false confidence, your comfort, your dependence. It will take the illusion that you are separate from life. That is why awakening cannot be taught. It can only be experienced, and that experience begins where your comfort ends. You want to know why silence is powerful? Because silence kills the noise inside. When the noise dies, awareness blooms. And awareness is the most dangerous thing in the world. Dangerous to ignorance, dangerous to illusion, dangerous to manipulation. That is why the world does not teach awareness. Because an aware human cannot be controlled. So, my friend, when I say too dangerous to teach, I do not mean forbidden. I mean sacred. Sacredness is not secrecy. It is sensitivity. You cannot hand it out carelessly. You must earn it by living in truth, by dying to illusion, by surrendering your need to always know. The greatest teacher is life itself. Every moment, if you are awake, reveals something. The way the leaf falls, the way a stranger smiles, the way pain arises and dissolves. All of these whisper the same teaching. Everything is temporary, everything is connected, everything is you. Once you realize this, you no longer chase enlightenment, you live it, you breathe it, you embody it. And then, the dangerous teachings become safe, because they no longer inflate your ego, they dissolve it. A student once asked, "Master, when will you teach me the final secret?" And I said, "When you no longer need to ask, because the asking comes from lack. When you are whole, the question disappears. When the question disappears, only silence remains. And in that silence, everything is known." The irony is this: what is too dangerous to teach is also too simple to describe. It cannot be given through words, because it is not information. It is transformation, and transformation happens only when you face yourself fully, without hiding, without escaping. So, if you seek to learn what is too dangerous to teach, stop looking for teachers and start becoming a student of silence. Observe your reactions. Watch your mind, watch your anger, watch your desires, watch your fear. Each of these is a doorway. Do not run from them. Step through them. Because the danger was never in the teaching itself. The danger was always in what the teaching will awaken within you. A force that once seen cannot be unseen. Once you realize who you are, no one can control you, no one can define you, no one can stop you. That is what is truly too dangerous to teach. So I will leave you with this. Do not crave teachings, crave understanding. Do not chase secrets. Chase sincerity. Do not seek power, seek presence. Because presence, pure, silent, and aware, is the one thing no one can teach you, and the one thing that will transform everything once you discover it for yourself. And that, my friend, is why some truths must remain hidden, not forever, but until your silence is strong enough to hold them. There are moments in the journey when words no longer serve you, when the language that once guided your steps becomes too small to hold what you are becoming. This is the threshold every seeker eventually reaches, the silent border between knowledge and wisdom. Beyond that border lies something that no one can hand you, no book can contain, no master can fully teach, because some truths are too dangerous to teach. When I say dangerous, I do not speak of physical danger. I speak of the danger to illusion, the danger to ignorance, the danger to the comfortable patterns that keep you from awakening. These truths are dangerous because they strip away the false sense of self you have spent your life building. And when that mask begins to crumble, you will feel lost. You will feel empty. You will feel like everything you knew was a lie. But that emptiness is not the end. It is the beginning. True teaching is not about giving you more to hold. It is about helping you let go. You are not here to collect wisdom like coins. You are here to dissolve into understanding. But most people are not ready for that kind of freedom. They say they want truth, but they cling to comfort. They say they want awakening, but they fear what awakening will cost them. That is why the most sacred teachings remain unspoken. They must be lived, not learned. In the monastery, young disciples often ask for secret techniques, methods to master the body, control the mind, or attain enlightenment quickly. They are eager, full of energy, full of pride. The master looks at them and smiles gently, saying, "When you can sweep the courtyard without thinking about sweeping, then you are ready." They do not understand. They think he is hiding something, but he is not. He is protecting them from the truth that cannot yet fit inside their minds. To teach too soon is to harm the student. It is like pouring boiling water into a fragile cup. The cup will break. Wisdom, like heat, must be introduced slowly, through experience, through humility, through stillness. If you try to hold too much too soon, it will destroy you. There are teachings that cannot be spoken because the moment they are described, they lose their essence. They are not information. They are transformation. And transformation is a fire that burns away all pretense. It leaves nothing behind except what is real. Most people want transformation without burning, but that is impossible. Fire cannot create light without consuming what stands in its way. What does it mean to say something is too dangerous to teach? It means that knowledge given to an unprepared heart becomes a weapon, not against others, but against oneself. The untrained mind uses wisdom to feed its pride. The unbalanced ego uses truth to justify its superiority. The impatient soul uses power to avoid humility. That is why true masters teach restraint before revelation, silence before speech, stillness before movement. The first lesson is always humility. Without humility, nothing else can take root. A proud mind is a closed cup. It cannot receive. It hears but does not listen. It collects words but not meaning. It mistakes understanding for possession. The humble mind, however, listens with the whole being. It does not grasp. It absorbs. It allows wisdom to flow through it like water without trying to own it. The second lesson is silence. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. When you are silent, you begin to hear what life has been whispering all along. You hear the rhythm of your breath, the beating of your heart, the quiet wisdom in every moment. This kind of listening is not something that can be taught. It must be cultivated in the garden of patience. The third lesson is presence. Presence means being where you are, fully. Not in the past, not in the future, but in the eternal now. The mind resists this. It wants to analyze, to remember, to anticipate. But presence requires surrender. It requires that you let go of control and trust life as it unfolds. That trust cannot be explained. It can only be lived when these three foundations, humility, silence, and presence, are established. Then and only then can the deeper teachings reveal themselves. They reveal themselves not as ideas, but as experiences. You begin to see patterns. Where before you saw chaos, you begin to act without hesitation, to speak without doubt, to move without fear. This is mastery, not control over others, but harmony within yourself. To those who are not ready, Such mastery looks supernatural. They think it comes from secret techniques or hidden powers. But the truth is simple. It comes from alignment of body, mind, and spirit. And alignment cannot be taught. It must be realized. It must be lived through thousands of moments of failure, of falling and rising again, of doubt and clarity, of darkness and light. Every student wants to skip the pain. But pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Pain is the mirror that shows you where you are still asleep. When you avoid pain, you avoid growth. When you face pain, you learn to see beyond it. The lesson that pain brings is too dangerous to teach because no one can hear it until they have suffered enough to listen. Some things you can only understand after you break. You must lose something precious, your pride, your certainty, your comfort, before you can hold something greater. The breaking is not punishment, it is preparation. A seed must crack before it can grow. A soul must surrender before it can awaken. In every generation, there are those who misuse knowledge. They learn fragments of truth and use them to manipulate others, to gain fame, to appear enlightened. They speak of peace while their hearts are restless. They teach detachment while secretly craving attention. This is why real masters speak little. They understand that to give light to the unready can create shadows. A teacher once said, "Beware of those who speak too easily about truth. They are still in love with the sound of their own voice." Real truth silences you. It humbles you. It dissolves the need to convince or convert anyone. You no longer teach to be heard. You teach because silence itself has become your teacher. When wisdom ripens inside you, you begin to see that life itself has always been the true master. Every person, every challenge, every joy and sorrow has been shaping you quietly. What seemed like obstacles were lessons in disguise. What seemed like loss was purification. What seemed like delay was divine timing. Once you see this, you no longer chase secrets. You begin to live simply, but deeply. You move with intention, speak with care, and listen with your heart. The more you understand, the less you need to say. The more you see, the softer you become. Because now you realize the most powerful force in existence does not shout, it whispers. That whisper is always there, waiting for you to quiet your mind. But you cannot hear it while you are searching for grand teachings. It is hidden in the simple, the ordinary, the everyday, in the act of breathing, in the stillness between heartbeats, in the sound of the wind through the trees. The whisper says, "Be still, watch, learn." When you finally listen, you will discover that the greatest lesson of all is this: the truth you seek cannot be taught because it has never been separate from you. You were not born incomplete. You were simply born unaware. Awareness is not something to achieve. It is something to remember. And remembrance cannot be taught. It must awaken naturally like the sunrise, gradual, inevitable, silent. This awakening is dangerous because it changes everything. Once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. Once you know yourself, you cannot pretend to be asleep. The games of the world, ego, greed, competition, lose their meaning. And when you no longer play those games, you no longer fit into the world that worships them. That is the true danger of awakening. It isolates you before it frees you. But do not fear this solitude. It is sacred. In solitude, you meet yourself fully for the first time. You discover the quiet joy that comes not from winning or achieving, but from simply being. This is the space where real strength is born. The strength to love without attachment, to act without fear, to speak without pride, to live without seeking. And when you reach that point, you realize that the teachings that were once too dangerous are no longer dangerous at all, because you have become stable enough to hold them. The fire that once threatened to burn you now warms you. The truth that once shattered you now sustains you. The silence that once frightened you now becomes your greatest companion. This is the mystery of all true paths. What was once dangerous becomes sacred. What was once hidden becomes obvious. And what was once impossible becomes natural. The journey does not end with knowing, it ends with being. So, if you wish to receive what is too dangerous to teach, do not ask for more knowledge, ask for more stillness, ask for more courage to face yourself, Ask for more patience to walk the long path without shortcuts, because in time you will see that the master was never outside of you. The master was the awareness within you, silent, watchful, eternal. And when that realization dawns, you will smile, not because you have found the truth, but because you finally understand that it was never lost. There are moments in life when you will meet knowledge and feel its weight, not the weight of facts or techniques, but the weight of truth itself. The kind of truth that asks more of you than you are willing to give. This is the teaching that is too dangerous to give prematurely. It does not seek to intimidate or harm, it seeks to awaken. And yet awakening, if unprepared, can feel like a storm breaking upon fragile branches. Most people think learning is a simple process. They imagine that if they acquire enough information, if they attend enough classes, if they memorize enough principles, they will become wise. But wisdom is not accumulated, it is realized, and realization requires readiness. A readiness that cannot be forced, a readiness that must grow silently within. This is why some lessons are not taught, and why some truths must remain hidden until the moment is right. The beginner's mind is curious, energetic, and eager. But it is also fragile, distracted, and attached. Give a young student the fire of advanced knowledge too early, and it will burn indiscriminately. The power that should illuminate becomes destructive. The lesson that should teach becomes a burden. This is the essence of the danger. Knowledge in the hands of the unprepared can become a prison rather than a liberation. Real teaching begins not with words but with observation. The master watches the student as much as the student watches the master. He observes the breath, the posture, the gestures, and the silence in between movements. He listens to the subtle rhythms of thought and emotion. Only then does he know whether the heart is ready to carry the responsibility that comes with deeper understanding. Many do not realize that readiness is more important than ability. Without readiness, even the most disciplined technique can become arrogance. Without readiness, even the most profound insight can become delusion. Silence is the first language of dangerous teaching. It is the bridge between knowing and being. In silence, the student is confronted with the self. Every impulse, every desire, every fear is revealed. The mind that runs from silence is not ready. The mind that embraces it begins to see the patterns within itself, the attachments, the resistances, the illusions that bind it, and in seeing, the student begins to loosen those bindings. To teach too early is to ignore the maturity of the mind, to push understanding before the heart can contain. It is to risk not wisdom, but damage. This is why the master does not hurry. The master allows the student to sit with difficulty, to struggle with the mundane, to face obstacles that feel unjust or impossible. These experiences, though small, are the crucible in which the mind and heart are forged. Only after this forging can the dangerous teaching be received safely. There is a lesson here that the impatient seeker often misses. Difficulty is the teacher. Repetition is the teacher. Silence is the teacher. These are not merely steps toward enlightenment. They are the very substance of enlightenment itself. To bypass them is to bypass the foundation. And the foundation, once bypassed, cannot hold the structure that comes later. You may ask, why must it be so dangerous? Why not give the teaching freely with the hope the student will grasp it? Because freedom without responsibility is chaos. Knowledge without maturity is harm. Wisdom in the hands of ego becomes pride. This is why every true teaching is accompanied by restraint, and every profound truth is protected by the silence of the master. Patience is required of the student. Patience is the willingness to endure the long process without shortcuts. The impatient mind seeks quick results, achievements, and recognition. It mistakes the accumulation of information for understanding. It mistakes the performance of rituals for the internalization of truth. The dangerous teaching waits until patience has been cultivated, for only then can it take root without creating imbalance. In the monastery, we learn first to sweep the floors, to sit for hours in meditation, to breathe with awareness, to observe without judgment. These simple acts are deceptively profound. To the untrained eye, they are menial. To the prepared heart, they are the very path. Mastery begins in small things. Awareness begins in silence. Strength begins in stillness. And the dangerous teachings, the ones too profound to hand out lightly, can only be received after the student has learned these truths in their daily actions. The heart of dangerous teaching is responsibility. When a student receives deep understanding, it is no longer for personal gain. It is not for pride or ego or recognition. It is for life itself. The student becomes accountable for how they use this knowledge. They become a steward of the power they have acquired. This accountability is what makes the teaching dangerous. Without it, the knowledge could easily corrupt, mislead, or destroy. Consider this. A mind untrained in stillness, given the secret of inner strength, might use it to dominate others. A heart unprepared in humility, given the secret of compassion, might manipulate instead of heal. A soul unready for truth, given the vision of reality, might become lost in despair or arrogance. This is why the world contains wisdom that is not freely shared, not out of fear, but out of love and foresight. To protect the student from themselves is the first act of true teaching. The second act of true teaching is timing. Life itself has a rhythm, a flow, a current. The teacher must sense this current, understand when the student is ready, and wait for the right moment to introduce the next lesson. To push a lesson too early is to disrupt the natural unfolding of growth. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. The wise teacher mirrors this rhythm. There is a subtle beauty in this restraint. The student learns to wait, to observe, to reflect. They learn that knowledge is not something to grasp, but something to embody. They learn that the path is as important as the destination. And in this patience, the dangerous teaching begins to reveal itself. First in small glimpses, then in deeper understandings that integrate with daily life. When the dangerous teaching is finally offered, it is not presented as a gift to be possessed. It is an invitation to transformation. The student is asked to step fully into responsibility, to confront fear, to face attachment, to dissolve illusion. And in this confrontation, the fire of understanding ignites. It burns away what is false, leaving the essence of truth clear and unshakable. The lesson is always this. No teaching, no matter how profound, is dangerous in itself. The danger lies in the readiness of the receiver. The power of knowledge is a reflection of the inner state of the student. A calm, aware, disciplined mind receives it as nourishment. A restless, distracted, unprepared mind receives it as burden. The teacher's wisdom lies not only in what they offer, but in knowing when and to whom it can be offered safely. Thus, we understand why some teachings remain hidden, why some truths are whispered only in silence, why the most profound lessons are revealed slowly, over years of practice, reflection, and self-discipline. The teaching is not being withheld out of cruelty or secrecy. It is being protected. Protected until the student has learned to protect themselves, and until the knowledge can be held without causing harm. The dangerous teaching is ultimately a mirror. It reflects the readiness, the strength, and the integrity of the student. It cannot be handed out blindly. It cannot be faked or performed. It is lived, experienced, and realized. And when it is finally received, it does not simply change the student. It transforms them completely, like a river carving a canyon over centuries, shaping both the path and the land it moves through. In the end, the wisdom that is too dangerous to teach is also the most precious. It is the wisdom that awakens the student to their full potential, their true responsibility, and their deepest connection to life itself. It is not given lightly because it is too powerful. And in that power lies the true beauty of the path. Only those who have cultivated patience, humility, discipline, and awareness can carry it without being destroyed by it. And so, the journey continues. The student sweeps the floor. The student breathes with awareness. The student sits in silence, watches the mind, confronts fear, and learns patience. Each act, each moment, each breath is preparation for the day when the dangerous teaching will be revealed. Not as a reward, but as a responsibility. Not as a prize, but as a path. The fire waits, the seed waits, the truth waits, and when the student is ready, the dangerous teaching becomes not something to fear, but something to live. Because the danger was never outside, it was always within. And the teaching was never withheld. It was always waiting for the heart that could receive it. There comes a moment on the path when the student realizes that the most important teachings are not in books, not in ceremonies, not even in the instructions of the master. They are in the silence between breaths, in the space between thought and action, in the stillness of the heart that watches without attachment. These are the lessons that are too dangerous to teach, because they ask for a surrender. Few are willing to give, yet those who surrender are forever changed. Dangerous knowledge is not dangerous because it destroys the world around you. It is dangerous because it destroys the world you have constructed within yourself. The illusions, the false securities, the stories you tell to feel safe. It strips away the walls you have built, the masks you wear, the ego you cling to. And when these fall, you are left exposed, not vulnerable, but alive. This is why it cannot be given carelessly. It cannot be handed out as a simple instruction. It must be earned, not requested. Some seek shortcuts. They imagine that wisdom is a prize to be claimed, a formula to be memorized, a technique to master. But wisdom is not obtained, it is awakened. And awakening is never convenient. It does not arrive when the mind is ready to receive it. It arrives when the soul is ready to transform, and the soul has its own timing beyond calculation, beyond effort, beyond desire. This is what makes the teaching dangerous. It is less about what is offered and more about who can contain it. The unprepared mind, when given the fire of deep understanding, will misuse it. Pride inflates, fear grows. Confusion multiplies. The knowledge that could free becomes a weapon that harms. This is the paradox of all powerful teachings. They are sacred and dangerous in equal measure. And so the master restrains, waits, observes, and teaches only when the student has demonstrated the capacity to carry the truth without being carried away by it. The first sign of readiness is humility. Humility is the foundation of all wisdom. It is the recognition that no one truly possesses knowledge, and that every lesson is an invitation to become more, not to accumulate more. Without humility, a student will seize the dangerous teaching as a tool for self-aggrandizement. With humility, the teaching becomes a mirror, revealing the truth of the heart, reflecting the essence of life itself. The second sign is stillness. Stillness is not merely the absence of motion, it is the presence of awareness. It is the mind's ability to observe without judgment, to witness without attachment. In stillness, the currents of emotion and thought become visible. The student learns that anger, fear, desire, and doubt are not enemies, but teachers. And in recognizing this, they learn to wield power with clarity, rather than be wielded by it. The third sign is patience. True transformation is not achieved in a day, a month, or even a lifetime. It unfolds slowly, like water carving stone, like a tree growing towards the sky. The student must endure repetition, struggle, discomfort, and sometimes even despair. Every obstacle is a teacher. Every difficulty is a test of readiness, and only through this process can the dangerous teachings be integrated safely and meaningfully. There is a story told among the masters. A student came to his teacher, demanding to know the secret of power. The teacher did not respond. The student persisted. The teacher remained silent. Years passed. The student practiced daily, sweeping the floors, sitting in meditation, observing the world without judgment, and confronting his own inner turmoil. One day, he realized the secret was not a technique, but a transformation within himself. The teacher had given nothing, yet the student had received everything. This is the essence of dangerous teaching. It cannot be given. It must be realized. Every moment of life is a lesson in this teaching. When the world challenges you, when circumstances seem unfair, when others act with cruelty or ignorance, you are presented with a choice: to react, to cling, to resist, or to observe, to accept, to remain steady. The dangerous teachings are woven into these moments, but they are only visible to the eyes of one who has prepared themselves to see. The untrained eye misses everything, or sees only illusions. The danger of teaching too soon lies in the fragility of the receiver. Knowledge is not neutral. It changes the mind, reshapes the heart, and awakens forces that cannot be contained by someone who is not ready. It can inflame anger, it can magnify fear, it can distort desire, and this is why the master waits, why the teacher restrains, why the lesson is often delivered in silence rather than speech. The most profound truths are never hurried, because they are not objects to be grasped, they are forces to be embodied. The essence of dangerous teaching is responsibility. When a student finally receives it, they are entrusted with more than knowledge. They are entrusted with self-mastery. They are entrusted with awareness. They are entrusted with the capacity to act wisely in a world that will test every aspect of their being. This is the sacred contract between teacher and student. That knowledge will be received only when the heart is mature enough to bear it, and the mind disciplined enough to use it for growth rather than harm. Every seeker must confront their own readiness. Desire alone is not enough. Curiosity alone is not enough. Readiness is measured not by what you know, but by how you respond. Do you respond to challenges with clarity or with confusion? To fear with courage or with avoidance? To loss with presence or with resentment? The dangerous teaching is always already within life itself. The question is whether you can perceive and allow it to transform you. Transformation begins with self-honesty. The dangerous teachings force you to look unflinchingly at yourself, your motivations, your attachments, your fears, your illusions. It is a mirror that spares nothing. The unready will recoil, resist, or seek to manipulate the lesson. The ready will accept, integrate, and grow. And this is why it is too dangerous to teach, not because it is forbidden, but because it is powerful beyond measure. One of the most profound aspects of this teaching is that it does not bestow superiority. It does not elevate one above others. It does not create competition or comparison. It simply awakens the student to their own potential and responsibility. It is dangerous because it dissolves dependency. Once you see clearly, you can no longer rely on the illusions that have guided you. You must stand, not upon borrowed authority, but upon the strength of your own awareness. In practice, this means living deliberately, moment by moment. Every action, every word, every thought becomes an opportunity to test readiness. Will you react with ego or with presence? Will you cling or will you release? Will you judge or will you observe? These questions, answered in real time, prepare you to receive the most sacred knowledge safely. And over time, the student learns to carry the fire without being burned, to hold the truth without being shattered, to live fully without fear. Thus, the dangerous teaching is not a single lesson, not a technique, not a secret phrase. It is a way of being. It is a cultivation of awareness, discipline, humility, patience, and presence. It is a transformation of the self that cannot be rushed, cannot be given, and cannot be borrowed. It is earned, moment by moment, breath by breath, day by day. And when the moment finally comes, when the heart is ready, the mind steady, and the soul awake, the dangerous teaching reveals itself naturally, not as an instruction, but as a reality, not as a formula, but as an experience. The student does not merely know it, they live it, they become it, and at that moment, the danger has passed, because they are no longer fragile, they are whole, they are grounded, they are free. So remember this, seeker. The most powerful lessons are not given lightly. They are too dangerous to teach because they are too true. They are too transformative, too revealing, too powerful for the unprepared. And yet, they are not hidden. They exist in every breath, in every challenge, in every moment of life. The question is not whether the teaching exists, but whether you are ready to receive it, to embody it, and to allow it to awaken the full depth of your being. Walk the path with humility. Sit in silence. Watch the mind, confront fear, embrace patience, live deliberately. And when the moment arrives, you will know. You will not need to ask. You will not need to seek. The teaching will reveal itself in every heartbeat, every breath, every thought. And you will carry it, not as a possession, but as a presence, steady, unshakable, alive. Because in the end, the lesson that is too dangerous to teach is not something to acquire. It is something to become. And when you become it, you realize that the danger was never outside. It was always inside, waiting for the strength, the awareness, and the courage to awaken.